Hi, welcome back to the new video where in this video let's try to build a xylophone app. So basically it's a simple app where on click on the each button which produce a sound. If you could observe, it is just producing a sound. So it is a simple app where you have nav bar and uh, pretty much a color palette where it produces sound. So you are dealing with a how do you take the sounds or many other things, many other concept in this. So let's get started. Okay, let's get started with building a xylophone app. So as I mentioned earlier, it's just an musical app where clicking on the each button should make or produce a sound. And for that, I made or set up a little changes. I made the changes in the project. Those are I've created a new directory called assets. The same way that we did for the images, we are doing the another folder just to store a voice notes. These are just simple voice notes. If you could listen, it's just a playing voice notes, that's all. Okay, same way we'll just create a the folder called assets, the directory. From here just click on right click, create a directory that is called assets, and get a musical app notes and export inside this folder. And the next step is we just have to go to the pepspecs.yaml. In the same way how we have stored for the images, like how we used to store images slash, same way you have to just make sure you have given or included the assets folder, so that after everything inside the asset will be able to be accessed in the main file. So if you see in the main file, what we did is we just added a app bar that is called as a xylophone app, and we have given little styling, that is background color as a black and text as white color, and we have added a state less widget. Let's make sure let it be a stateful widget, so remove it and let make this as a stateful widget and a my app. So now we have this stateful widget, and instead of empty placeholder, just make sure let it be a container or something. Container, fine. This is a simple template that we have. So as per we saw in the last in the demo, we just wanted a 7, there's a 7 node. We just wanted a rectangular kind of container, or it can be like a box where clicking on the each box should provide a each node. Okay, let's start with creating a simple UI for that. So since the each element is being stored or stacked in the column wise, so first let's return a column. Why we are writing a column? We are basically labelling the structure, and column always takes a n number of children, so that is why we are using a column. Inside this column we just want a rectangle, and let's write for creating a rectangle, or just like a container. Instead of writing container, which we have to specify a height and a width, which is more complex. We have to measure how much length we want, how much height we want. Instead of that, let's use one more thing that is we taught in the last class, that is expanded. Let's use the expanded widget, so it is automatically sits to the fully length and the height. So inside this expanded, we are just wrapping the expanded to that. Inside this expanded, let's write a container. So we're just creating a container, but we are making sure it is wrapped in the expanded, because we want it to take the fully length, and irrespective of anything, whether it is in the horizontal version or in the vertical. So inside this container, let's make sure the child, let's make sure the color, let's change the color first. Give the color, that is color as, for the first, let it be a red color. The same way, since as I told container, if there is nothing inside the as I told in the last class, if there is no child inside the container, it takes up the full length and width, so you don't have to worry. Just copy the same thing, the full expanded, you copy the full expand. Make sure you separate comma to the next element, paste it. Instead of red, let's change it to the orange. You're just changing the color. See, as we get the child, it equally gives the space and align to the column. So let's change this color to green and the next color to the teal, and we are done with almost 4 expand widget. We want 3 more. Let's first 5, 6 and a 7. So we just have to change the color from teal to, let's make this as yellow, and let's keep this as blue. Just give a random color. If you want, you can choose your own color palette. We're just using a random color here. There's 3 and 6, and last color instead of teal, let's make this as, just give some random color, could be anything. Okay, let's stick to indigo. Fine, these are the 7 colors we are picking, and when we click on the each container, we just want to produce a sound. That is the main goal of this Xylophone app. So for now the UI is setted. The UI we have created already. Next, what we want to do, we have to make sure on clicking of each element there should be some kind of let's say for now let's print that color. Okay, now the next thing we have to do is making sure when we click on the each container, it should be able to perform any kind of action. Example, when I wrap the whole thing by the container, either I can wrap it with the button or I can just wrap it with the gesture detector. So let's try to wrap the whole thing with the gesture detector. You just have to do control space, you click a widget, make sure it is wrapped with the gesture detector. So when I on tap the each thing, I'm just performing an anonymous function, that is just have to print red color, red or something. Make sure you end the statement with semicolon, and the moment when I click on this, the red is producing. So it's the same way. So it is working fine. So let's not care about other container. First let's clear with the first one. So it is working fine, but instead of printing this, we just have to produce the sound, that is the one we have imported here. So to achieve that, we have to get a audio file, which we already have the audio file, but we have to use that audio file inside our code. So to make use of that, we can use external libraries where we can make use of that. So the one of the official repository that we can use is pub.dev. This is an open source, it's like a library of code where we get a code from the other people, or it is created by the Flutter team, which is incorporated, which can be easily incorporated in our project with the minimum efforts. It's like a package repository for Dart and a Flutter app. So here you can search any package that we require. So what we want is we want a package where that package will make us to use the sound file that we have, the asset we have created, that audio file. To make use of that audio file, we need a package that have to be installed in our app. So let's search for the audio. And not only this, in fact, if you don't want to use the Google fonts, if you want to use other fonts or like a Google fonts, you don't have to all use, you can also have many packages for that. If you want to generate a random paragraph, we have a package for that. There's many ways you can use this package. Okay, here we are. We got a 2755 package results, and if you are having a particular filtering sort, we can sort it here. If you are particular about Android or iOS, we can just click on Android if you want, and everything that is coming under Android will be shown. That is like we have sorted with the default ranking, it has been sorted. And one good thing about this pub.dev is here there is a three things that you can see: how many downloads it's done, how many likes is given to that each packages. Based on that you can pick the package that you like, so you can explore many packages here. So let's start with let's take this audio player. So if you could see here, there's like a bunch of things given here. So what you can do is, the first thing that we see is the installation and the example. These are the two important sections we have to check on. Installation: to install the particular package, just have to install this, and the moment when we install the under the dependency, it will be added. Or you can just add this and you can run the pub-get. And how do we import it, and to see how to use it, we can just follow the docs they have given. So let's start with installation. Let's go into the installation docs and copy this, come back to the code, and here in the terminal let's paste this and run the program. The moment when we run this, under this dependency they'll be added, this package will be added here. If you could see, audio player is added here. So let's see how can we import it. Go back to the Flutter code. Here they'll be given how to import it. Just copy this, come to the code and paste it here. We have just using the same package that we have installed. Here under this external library, you can see in the Dart packages, you can see the audio player that we have installed right now. The packages is being included here in the external library. So next thing we have to do is, we just have to go to the example in the pub-get. In the example, we have to see how do we use this package. Okay, in this, if we go under the example and check, there are a few examples given here. So what we have to do is, first we have to create a variable which is actually initiating this constructor. So let's go back to the code. In the code, we have already imported the package that we wanted, that is an audio player. So when I click on this, we just wanted it to produce a note 1 sound. So what we'll do, we'll go here in the my app. Let's create a variable called the reason why I'm using a keyword final, because if you have not checked my variables Dart tutorials, do check it out. Just making sure that it won't change. This variable won't be changed. Okay, and let's create a variable called a player, which have to be initiating the audio player. And it's very important, whenever I told you about the variable or a function, usually you have to give a return type, and the return type of this variable is audio player. You can just write the audio player like that. It doesn't bring any problem. So after this, what we have to do, we just have to use the method that has been given in the player. So when I do press on the red color container or a red color button, or we are using gesture detector, on tap of this, we just want that player to play that by using a play method. We have a play method which takes actually more than 3, okay, it takes 5 parameters, but for now we can just stick to one, that is where the source is from. We are taking a source from the assets. These are the asset folder from the asset we are bringing, and you have to specify the path. Just go here, right click, copy the path, and just paste the path here. Make sure you end it with the semicolon, and reload the whole app. Once it is reloaded, and I have made little change, instead of using asset/note1, you have to just use note1, because it is directly taking from the assets only, so you don't have to explicitly name it. So the moment when I click on the red, we are getting a sound. I'll click it again. Probably you can hear that. In the same way, challenge for you people, pause the video. For each button, for each container, enclose or wrap it with a gesture detector, and for each button, change the note. On click on the note, you can produce a different voice. Okay, let's continue with this same thing. Let's add the gesture detector to each container by clicking Alt Enter or to the bulb icon. Wrap with the widget called a gesture detector, and do the same thing for the other 6. Make sure you are wrapping the whole container with the gesture detector. The moment when you did wrap with the gesture detector, the next thing you have to do is you have to add the property on tap to the gesture detector. Before that, reformat the code so it will be in the proper order. So after every gesture detector, just add on tap, or you can just copy here, paste it right below, and just change the note from 1 to 2. For every for every gesture detector, make sure you are adding or giving the property of the on tap and change the note. Okay, here we have just pasted the on tap to every gesture detector, which means that we are able to produce a sound when we click on the different button. Okay, the moment after we did this, the challenge or the main goal is completed, but the other goal or the way you have to keep the project is also matters. If you could see here, the one common thing we are doing is we are using a same kind of function, that is same on type to everything, but the number of the note is different. See, we are just coding or writing the same line of code, which is against the whole code principle, because we should not repeat our code or repeat ourselves multiple times. That's why we use functions. So using a function, there's a challenge for you people. Create a function where what we are doing, the whole expanded widget is basically copied. It is basically a same thing it is rendering. So instead of rendering this multiple times, just write a function and paste the whole thing and just call that function for the 7 times. So let's create a function called, it can't be a void, it can't be a const, it have to be void, means which doesn't return anything. So let's write a, give a name as a build key, and which is basically an function. So what we just wanted it to take the expanded, because all this expand, what it is doing the same thing, except it is just producing a different voice. Okay, now we have pasted, and let's call the function, that is build key. We have called the function, but there's a little problem. What is that problem? Let's see. The first thing, we have to make sure the whole code of line has been ended with the semicolon. The next is there's a little error in the player. Oh, and very important, the whole build key have to be inside the app, not outside. Then there'll be an error, right? So just try to put it inside, so the error will be gone. The next thing, again it shows an error. It's saying that the expression has a type of void, so its value cannot be used. So this is the one of the main thing in the function. If you have not seen the video of the function that I have created in the Dart, do check it out, because the many things that I have covered about what is this void, what we want, the main problem it is causing, whoever has not seen, I'll explain it now. What it is causing here is, if you write a void, which means that function does not return anything. Let's go back to the dat pad and let's see how it is. Okay, here we are in the dat. So we just have the main function. So let's try to create a normal function called a greet, and let's try to print hello statement. Make sure you end it with the semicolon. How do we call the function? We just have to write the name using its name. We just call it, run the program. The moment when we run the program, what it does, it just goes here, print the statement as hello, which we are seeing in the console in the output screen. So here the function that we have given is void. Why do we given it void? Because we are specifically mentioning that whatever when you call the function, we are not responsible for passing anything. So basically that function is not passing or returning or giving anything. Let's say there's a condition where I have to pass something. Instead of printing hello, let's say I have a variable called greetings, and I'll just use a string hello. Since we are using a string hello, instead of giving it as var, let's give it as a string, which will be more good way. So if I try to call this function now, what do you think the output will be? Nothing. So if I want to give or return this statement here, when I call the function, I first have to make sure it is used or written with the keyword. The moment when I write written, it will throw an error because in the function, in the type of function, we told it's as a void. When you tell the function is a void, then that is expecting that us to return nothing, but we are trying to return something, right? So you have to change that void to what you are returning. You are returning a string, so you can just write a string. Here we are. We just have to return the greeting. Greeting is nothing but a string, so we just gave a return type of that function as a greet. So here here I can just create a variable called a, which is nothing but it takes a greet, not a let, it's a var. Then if I just print a, and if I call this function, what it does, it just calls the same function, which is a string function, and it returns a word called hello. So what we are doing, the moment when we write return here, we are saying we are returning something. We are returning when you call that function, you will guarantee get something from there. And what we are getting, the string. If you use a void here instead, you'll get an error. The same thing is happening in the code. What is happening here in the code, if you could see, it is saying the expression has a type void, so the value cannot be used. What we want here to be displayed or written, we want that the expanded code, we wanted this expanded widget, it's an UI, to be returned or responded here or rendered here, right? So instead of using that function as a word, let's use expanded only. We are returning a type called expanded, and we have to make sure you are returning the expanded, so just use the keyword written. So if I hit save, it will be normal, and it is not here normal because we just have written only the gesture type and it has a color red, not the rest of the things. You can just copy the same thing down for the 7 times. Here we have 3, 6 and a 7. 7 times we have did, but this, it has same color because all the 7 colors are in the red colors. So what is the 2 things we have to change? We have to change the number of the note the moment we clicked, and second thing is the color of the each container. So what we'll do, if you have not seen the video, I'll explain it in the shorter way. In the function, if you could see, if you guys agree this is a function, right? Let's give a little gap and show you this. This is a function. Okay, it has a return type that is an expanded. It's just a return type. Build key is the name of the function, and it has a parenthesis. If you could wonder why this parenthesis is given is to pass an input, and here we have passed nothing. It's an empty input, and also when you call the function, it's an empty input. So here we have the opportunity where we can pass the input we wanted. What input we wanted? We need a two input. One is we want to change the color, and another one is we need to give a note number. Okay, that is a musical number. These are the two inputs that we have to pass. So there's a one thing named as an named parameters. That is nothing but, see, usually you can pass the parameter. Let's go to the dart pad and let's see. Here in the code, let's say instead of passing the statement called hello, let's say it have to print a username. Let's say a name which is equals to every time when you want to call or pass, let's say you want to pass a different username, I should be able to pass a different. So instead of this, let's write a void because we are not returning anything. So let's make use of this input. How can we make use of this input? I can just give a variable to it. The variable can be anything. Here the variable is a string which is nothing but a username. So let's first tell what is that variable. Its type is string and the variable name is username. Fine. And I'm telling whenever you call this function with passing some kind of variable, it can be a username, we are trying to print that username. I think you are clear, right? So I have created a function where when you call this function you have to pass a username. When you pass a username, we will try to print that username. So here it is throwing error because it is expecting us a one positional argument by a greet, but we have not passed anything. So I can just write a greet and I can just pass a name called Sarah, and if I hit run, what will happen? The Sarah will be kept will be just when the moment you call, it will be initialized to the username, and in the print statement it will be name equals to username. Here we got a name equals to Sarah. The same way I can just use the same function to call the different names. I can call Alex, I can call same way I can call my name, your name, any username. I can just reuse the same function and try to call for the different name. If you could see here, see, right? Let's say in the same way, if there is a more than one parameters, if there is a more than one input, let's add one more input called int age, and here let's try to print the age of that user. Let's name it as age, which is equals to age. Whenever you call the whenever you call the function, you have to pass age also. That's why it is throwing error. So after this, let's pass the age, and that should be an int only. It is expecting int. If you try to pass an string or any boolean value, it will throw you an error because it is expecting a number, not an boolean value. So let's say 20, let's say 35, and if I run, the same output will be passed here. Okay, these things are fine. Let me give you one more condition. Okay, if I try to print the same thing with different username called Ram, and I'll just change the position of this both. First I'll try to print the number, age number, then I'll print the Ram. See here, I already got the output. I'll rerun it again. First I'll get an error. What is that error? First it is expecting a string only. It is saying I want string, then I want a number. If in case by miss, if I change the order of the input, it will throw me an error. So how can we take this advantage? Like, how can we make this better? Is there anything which can we use that we can make this better? That is an optional that is called as named parameters. What we can do is we can give a name for each input when we are passing. So even there is a change in a order of the parameter or input, it can able to take it. So how can we make that is, just make sure it is enclosed or wrapped with the curly braces. We have to give a curly braces. After giving a curly braces, it is expecting when you give this when you give that inside the curly braces, it is saying either it can be null, or you have to explicitly write it as required. You have to write it as a required, or you can just make that variable as null. So to understand null, okay, you just have to put in here question mark, so then the error will be gone. Either you can tell this value can be able to be a null, even if you don't pass the age, it doesn't take any offense, it will take the other things, or you just have to tell it should be there or it shouldn't be there. So what you have to do to give this a named parameter, just make sure every input should be wrapped in this curly braces, and both the input that you are given have to be specific, explicitly saying that whether it should be there or it shouldn't be. Here we are telling username should be there, so we have written with the keyword required, or else we can just say it is not even necessary, it can be null, you can say. So here when you pass the argument, you have to say username should be a Sarah, and the age should be a number that you have given. So you have to give a particular name. Just make sure it's an object, it is not equal. So here also I just have to give a username as Ram and age as the 35. But the order I have given is different. First I have given age, then I have given username. Still it is able to print an output. See, look at the example. Even the order is different, we are able to print the same output that we have expected. So usually in the Flutter, we tend to follow this way, that is a named parameters. You can use in the old way also, but this is the common way. So let's go back to the code. Okay, right here, let's pass the two parameters. One is a color, which is nothing but a colors dot red, it's a colors dot red, the first one. And the second one, we want it as a number, it's a note number, which we want it to be for the first one we want a number as 1, and for other things we want it 2. So let's just try to pass it for the different containers. So just try to pass the same thing and change the data. Instead of red, we wanted it as an orange, and later we wanted it as an yellow. Next, change it to green. The next, teal. The next, change it to blue and indigo. It's a final color we are doing. And in the number section, just change to 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 then to 4, then we have 5, then a 6, and the last number is a 7. So we have passed the arguments here, but we have never defined the parameters, we have never told what to be passed. So the first thing, let's use the curly braces and let's name what we want. The first we want is color. What is the type of a color is, if you could hover over here, the type of the color is color only. So I can just write a color, and let's give a name to that is nothing but this only. Just copy this. The name of that color is color itself. Okay, and you have to write whether we want it or not. So we need this. It is like a must. Let's use required. After that, the another input that we want is note number, and which nothing but an int. It's a number. So let's write int note number, and this is also most required field or input. So let's make sure both is required. And here we have passed, but in the main code we didn't made a change. So let's remove this unnecessary print statement. Instead of 1, I'll just use a string interpolation, that a $sign. Inside that I'll just write a note number, and instead of a color I'll just write a color. Okay, then here we got the output. Let's see if this works. Yeah, it is just working. Fine. Here we are done with the Xylophone app. So try to do this on your own. You might have little confusion or any doubts. So try to put it in the comment section if you have any doubts. Try to use a Flutter docs or a Google as your resources. Search and try to learn as much as possible. Thank you.